Hello everyone and welcome to Big Rock Moto. Thank you so much for tuning in today. In today's episode on the BMW R1300GS, I'm going to talk about how it is to live with this bike. So I've had this bike for about 6 months now, and I think it's time to talk about some of the practical nitty-gritty details of the ownership and user experience with the big GS. So what I did is I really made a list. I've been compiling a list on my computer for the past several months, and I'm just going to kind of go through this. Some of these things are good, some of them are bad, some of them are just a discussion, and talk about sort of the ownership of this bike. So the first note that I had owning this bike, one thing I notice about it every single time that I get it out of the garage is the low seat height. Because I have the adaptive ride control, which lowers the bike at a stop, it is so low to the ground, and it's so nice with such a big, heavy bike that, you know, these bikes can be pretty tall and heavy, which they are, just to be lower to the ground. And when you're riding, you have the full height of the suspension. When you're stopped, it's really nice and low. It is really a game-changing feature and something I'd like to see on more motorcycles. The next thing I have to discuss is the seating comfort. The seating comfort, in my experience, is not very good. It's actually worse than the R1300GS that this bike replaced. That's really kind of a big disappointment, because when I spent, in my case, over $30,000 for a new BMW motorcycle, I want a really, really good seat. I don't want to have to go out and spend another $500 or whatever it is to buy a different seat. I'm really upset about that. So it's not as good as the outgoing bike for the rider or for the passenger. I don't ride with the passenger really, but I've had Maggie sit in it, and she says it feels like okay. But other riders out there, and you can look up other reviews, they've said it's not great, maybe not as good as the 1250. I put an airflow seat cover on mine, it does help, but after a few hours I still have quite a bit of discomfort. Okay, fuel economy and riding range. So they made the gas tank smaller. It's now 5 gallons or 19 liters. They took a liter away, or about 0.3 gallons. Not a huge deal, but then what happened is the bike's actually a little bit more efficient. So I find it to be about 5 to 10% more efficient on fuel. I get between 45 to 50 miles a gallon, and I can get around 200 miles per fuel tank. So it's about the same as the outgoing 1250GS was, so I'm okay with that. All right, maintenance is a big thing that comes up with motorcycles, so let's talk about that. BMW on the 1300GS, at least here in the United States, I don't know about worldwide, but let me know if this is true around the world, they throw in the first service. They call it something like premium care ownership or something like that. But anyway, your first service is 600 miles or 1,000 kilometers is free. Now, I really like that. I did have that service done at the dealer. They do a lot of different checks. They change the oil, you know, they plug into the computer, they do a lot of different stuff. That's great that it's free. It's also smart marketing on the part of BMW, because guess what? Now the customer's coming back into the dealer. They might buy parts, tires, accessories, look at other bikes, whatever the case may be. Super smart on their end, but it also is nice as a consumer, because that's like a $300 or $400 value that you get for free. So I like that. Now, maintenance intervals on the 1300 are very similar to what we saw on the 1250GS and the 1200GS. So they're saying a minor service every 6,000 miles or 10,000 kilometers. That's your oil change and basic checks, you know, pretty basic stuff. And then major service, which is a couple other, well, it's oil again, it's a valve inspection check. It's also the final drive service, or the drive shaft oil or gear oil to be replaced. So all those things, and that's going to be a bit more expensive. Prices can vary. That's again every 12,000 miles or 20,000 kilometers. The air filter access. Oh, and I should say, you know, if you want to work on this bike yourself, it's actually not too bad to work on. You will need to get like a GS 911 to plug in to reset the computer, and then, which is an aftermarket thing. And you might need to try to get a service manual, which can be, I guess, now hard to get a hold of. And just for the record, I don't support any manufacturer who takes away service manuals or the access to that. I think that's wrong, and I think that should be challenged in court. Really don't agree with that if that's the case. I don't know if that's the case yet with BMW, but I'm hearing rumors about that. Anyway, just for the record, that's how I feel. Air filters, the air filters are up here under the front under some covers, so pretty easy to get to for the air filter. You don't have to like remove the gas tank or anything, so I appreciate that. Now, we should talk about the final drive, or the shaft drive. A lot of, you know, worry out there about this. On some previous BMW models, I think on the 1250 GS for certain years, BMW is actually replacing shaft drives, I think, for free. There was some sort of a service bulletin campaign or something to that effect, where they're saying you might get a free replacement. So that could be different. Now, have they revised things on the 1300? Yeah, I think they did a little bit. But what they're saying now, and this is really interesting and a bit alarming, I think, is in the owner's manual, it says every 48,000 miles or 80,000 kilometers, you have to replace the drive shaft, or some people call it the cardan drive, or the unit. You have to replace the drive shaft, according to the owner's manual, every 48,000 miles or 80,000 kilometers. Now, that is a good amount of miles, but there are BMW riders who put multiple hundreds of thousands of miles on their motorcycles. I know, because I know those people. And the cost of that drive shaft is around $1,500 for the part when I looked it up. And then the labor, I don't know what the labor is going to be if you have a dealer do it. But that's a bit concerning. I don't know. I guess they're saying that to avoid failures, and I guess now they're saying it's a consumable unit. So we'll have to see how that plays out over the next several years, because nobody has that many miles on these new bikes yet. But if you know more about this, put this down in the comments, because I'm not going to put 48,000 miles on this bike. There's just no way, because I'm not going to own it much longer. But because this is what I do for a living, guys. I make these videos, I test things. About 6 months is about as long as I want to own a bike in terms of videos. So anyway, let me know about that, but that was a bit concerning. Okay, let's talk about the lights real quick. So a few things on the lighting system and riding at night and just all of that. So the controls are not backlit. That's inexcusable to me. With a $25,000 plus motorcycle, I would need the controls to be backlit at night so I can see what the buttons are, and a lot of cheaper motorcycles have that. So BMW, please fix that. The tail light, so they went away from the brake light in the middle. Now they have the brake lights and the turn signals. A lot of people are concerned that reduces visibility when you're braking and signaling at the same time. That is a valid concern. I don't have any studies or science to really back this up one way or the other, but it is a concern. Now, what I did on my bike is I put on a Denali B6 brake tail light, which kind of solves the problem, but that's a couple $100 that you have to spend. So I like having the extra light from the Denali. I don't know why they're getting away from the old braking setup where they had the brake light in the middle. You're seeing that on a lot of other motorcycles too. I don't know what the deal is there, but let me know what you all think about it. The headlight is phenomenal. The standard factory headlight on this bike, if you get the Pro headlight or whatever the upgrade package is, which I think all of them have pretty much, it's phenomenal. It's some of the best, I think it's the best lights I've ever seen on a motorcycle. It really illuminates well. Now I have extra lights, I have the Denalis, cover that in other videos, but the headlight performance is phenomenal. Okay, so by now a lot of you are familiar, if you're interested in this bike, with the forged wheel option. So I got the forged Enduro wheels on mine, which I do like them. They're very light. They improve the handling of the bike. They improve the suspension performance of the bike. Great. There are concerns about their durability. I am not going to own this bike long enough, nor put enough miles in hard off-road terrain to really be able to test them. There are other people out there who will, so you should follow those reports and see what happens. I've already seen, I think, one instance of a bent wheel somewhere on social media with the forged wheel, so I don't know the situation. I don't know if they hit a brick wall at 80 miles an hour or if they ran over an ant. I just don't know what the situation was. Things get taken out of context, and social media is a mess with that stuff because you don't know what you're looking at. But and you can bend and break spoke wheels and cast wheels, so who knows. But that's out there and is a concern. If I was buying another GS, I'd probably still get these forged wheels because I think the benefits of the lightweight is really significant. I want to take a minute to talk about the radar systems on the bike. So the new GSs come with front and rear radar. So you get blind spot monitoring in the back. There's a back radar. I think the 2025 bikes maybe are going to have a rear collision mitigation or warning system. So if a car's coming up behind, it does something like flashes the lights or warns you. I don't know the details on that. My bike does not have that. Doesn't have the rear collision warning. So I like the blind spot monitoring. It works great. The adaptive cruise control with the front radar works great. You can set the distance. It's a great system. There are certain instances where it can interfere, like if you go if someone pulls in front of you, like on a freeway, and kind of slows down, it might like kind of be a little jerky or not do something that you wanted to do. So there are times when you deactivate it or don't use it. But cruising on open highways and dealing with some kind of traffic that's slowing down a bit and then speeding up, it works great. And it's really also good on secondary 2-lane roads, even on country roads or following other motorcycles. It's a phenomenal system. I love that, and is a great feature for long distance riding. Now the bike also has like a forward collision, I think in the manual they call it mitigation or warning system. What it does is if it thinks you're gonna like hit another object or vehicle, first it warns you on the dash and with flashing, and then it warns you again if it gets worse. And it doesn't really apply the brakes. It's kind of confusing what the manual says, but what it actually does, and I've played with this, because when I lane split or filter lanes, it kind of activates it. It'll like pulse the brakes just a tiny bit. You feel it like if you're covering the brake, you feel it kind of pulse a tiny bit. The bike doesn't really slow down, but it's giving you, they're saying it's like haptic feedback to let you know, hey, pay attention, something's going on in front of you, you might hit something. So I haven't really found that to be useful. Seems like a gimmick to me, if I'm just being honest. And you can turn that off. And all these things I'm talking about, by the way, you can turn them off if you don't like them. So that's something important to know. I also wanted to kind of talk about pricing a little bit. I know that's a little bit outside of the whole practical livability thing with the GS that we're focusing on today, but the pricing, I've taken a bit more look at that, and there's a lot of these new 1300s that have like the popular options that are optioned out to around $25,000. I don't really think that's too bad, to be honest with you, because if you look at a fully optioned 1250 GS, not an Adventure, that's different, but the regular GS before the 1250 got phased out was about $22,500, $23,000. So I would say it's like maybe a $2,500 price bump, or about maybe what, 10% price increase. If you factor in inflation, and you also factor in that you get more standard equipment on this bike, like the adaptive cruise controls and other systems like that, the electric windshield, which most of them come with at that price. I think the pricing is actually really reasonable for what it is. I made a point in another video on someone else's YouTube video. They were talking about the price of the GS, and I was like, well, yeah, it is an expensive motorcycle, but like, not to pick on Harley at all, because I like Harleys actually, but like the Harley Davidson Road Glide, which is like 900 something pounds, has like way less power. It weighs 300 pounds more than this. It can't go on twisty roads well. It doesn't have sport performance. It's not as comfortable as this, in my opinion. It can't go off-road, obviously. That bike is $32,000, the base price for a Road Glide. This for $25,000, I think a GS is a great purchase. So that's just my opinion. Also, if you compare it to a Multistrada V4, this starts to look pretty reasonable. A KTM 1290 is a better price and a better value, although that's a deeper discussion to nuances of that. Tiger 1200 is a really good value as well. So anyway, I just wanted to cover that. All right, well, kind of a simple video, but I hope this has been useful. Let's have a discussion down in the comments on any of these issues that we're concerned about, worried about. You know, what I try to do here at Big Rock Moto is foster a community, feedback and understanding, and helping each other and chiming in. And I welcome that, whether it's, you know, even if it's critical feedback to me or the bike or whatever, I don't take it personal. It's okay. We're just having a community discussion about this stuff. Overall, do I love the 1300 GS? Yes. I love this motorcycle. It's a phenomenal motorcycle, probably the best overall motorcycle that I've ever really tested. So really great bike, really enjoy having it. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to own it for financial reasons and reasons of having to do other video projects here to keep this business running. But anyway, stay tuned because there'll probably be more content after this. Thank you so much for watching. Ride safe. I'll see you out there.